Okay, so I'm going to go over the Datalog entries.
Where you going? Hurry up and get over here.
Saz, I'm going to go over the Datalog entries real quick because the Datalog gives us a lot of the backstory. It's all there in the manual, as TV Tropes likes to say, or in this case. So
there's only events yet.
Yeah, there's only events and enemy intel. Enemy is just a bestiary. It doesn't actually talk about the backstories of the enemies, so we're going to skip that. But Chapter 1, Defiers of Fate. Lightning and Saz...
Even though this is a recap of what you just saw, I found that I still had to read this to get what was going on
exactly.
a lot of times.
Maybe my explaining this makes it a little bit redundant, but I'm just going to read it just in case. So, again, you can comment if this is too redundant and annoying. So, Lightning and Saz are held aboard a military purge train along with a group of civilians destined for exile. In stark contrast to the uncertain and despairing people around her, Lightning appears determined and focused.
She seizes upon an instant of inattention to disable a guard, and her impressive display inspires Saz and the other civilians to take up arms against the soldiers. After clashing with army forces, the train crashes to a halt in the war-torn district known as the Hanging Edge.
Saz attempts to figure out Lightning's angle, but she shows little desire to share. The former soldier throws herself into battle without the slightest hint of hesitation. What could be driving her? Suspect citizens of Cocoon are wrenched from their tranquil existence and threatened with exile to the world of Pulse. The purge has begun.
The land below is said to crawl with unknown perils, and terrified civilians begin to rebel against the purge. A revolt also occurs on the train transporting purge deportees, and Lightning's battle against the guards galvanizes the other prisoners into action.
The train comes to a halt in the district of the Hanging Edge, a hellish war zone where soldiers open fire indiscriminately upon civilians.
So we get a little bit of sense of the
level of terror that these people have over Pulse is that they're willing to just execute civilians who were even in the same area, you know what I mean? Or people were all put in the purge just for being there when this
wrong place at the wrong time, literally. Lightning makes her way through the middle of the conflict, all but ignoring her uninvited companion Saz. She seems determined to press onwards even when the path before her is destroyed by military strikes.
So, a lot of what's going on, their motivations, are hard to understand. Lightning is dealing with terrible, gripping loss, and fighting is her only way of grieving. And that's something the game does not explain at this point, but I feel like it helps you understand why she's thrown away everything she has. She was a soldier, but now she's just killing soldiers left and right, and she's not trying to save civilians. She's not interested in saving people at all. That's all just a byproduct of her little rebellion. She is on her own thing, and someone important to her is in danger, and we're going to find out who that is. And that, right now, is all she cares about. Everything else is just an obstacle. And Saz is dealing with a similar thing, but he's a little more mature, and he still kind of takes his time, you know, figuring out what to do next. He's not as young as Lightning, even though he calls himself an old man. He's not really that old. I think I'm actually possibly older than Saz already, or the same age. But he is not as much of a run-in, guns-blazing type of person.
Despite the fact that he is the one that has the literal guns.
Has the literal guns. Well, Lightning has a gun. She just only uses it as a sword. So... Oh, that's the way I came from.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
That's going to be happening a lot. I have no sense of direction to begin with, and then this has a spinny map. Some people seem to like spinny maps, but I do not like spinny maps, so we are going to get confused. And there's going to be a place called the Nutriculture, Automated Nutriculture Factory, and that is going to be a place with spinny maps that's going to drive me crazy. So for now, we're going to save the game in this long little sort of film reel of lightnings and snows and Sazes and hopes and stuff.
Hey now.
Whoa. Sorry, Saz. I know. Lightning keeps getting personal even though she's like been ignoring you this whole time. She's just super focused, okay? That's kind of a cute terminal.
It is.
I feel like its name should be Bob or Rob or Quark or something. Not Quark like in Star Trek.
Not our lucky day.
No, I think that's the understatement of the century, at least till later in the game.
Deportees, are we? Weapons down. I hate for this to turn ugly.
Turn ugly?
He wants to kill us without a fight.
Time's up!
So, chaining is going to be something really important later in the game, but frankly, I don't know really how to chain anything this early in the game. Yeah, I guess he has a really low stagger point. So enemies
took that into account.
Yeah, enemies can be staggered, and later when there are rolls unlocked, you have to combine certain abilities to stagger enemies, and this leaves them a lot more open for attack. And it's a mechanic that's not really in any of the other Final Fantasy games. And it kind of overrides the importance of wow, that guy was butter. It overrides the importance of just raw damage in this one. And depending on how you feel about that, I have mixed feelings about it, but it does somewhat arbitrarily add a little bit more strategy to the game.
So, soldier.
In that case, sorry.
What's your
Guys,
angle?
talking.
What? Classified military info? Huh? What's the matter? You quit, didn't you? What, did you think I'm gonna go out there and just tell everybody your secrets?
See. My angle. I'm after the Fal'Cie.
And there we have it. That was a really
Still
elaborate
have to be
siege
tagged
control
along.
thing. Like, couldn't you just have to pull it from one side to the other?
Didn't have a choice.
This area looks so much like Midgard. I know that's intentional.
On behalf of the good citizens, I would like to thank our brave false pioneers and express our best wishes for a successful relocation. Your noble and selfless sacrifice ensures the continued safety and peace of our society. Were it not for this remarkable gesture, every resident of Cocoon, your family, your friends, your neighbors, would be exposed to the dangers of the world below. By choosing to leave Cocoon and participating in this migration,
Migration? More like extermination.
Huge. You stay here.
So sorry. I didn't mean to.
These people need heroes. Here. You keep your cool, and they will too. You got it?
Got it.
What's our motto?
The army's no match for Nora.
That a boy.
And now we meet Snow, where I talked about Lightning not really being a traditional hero, doing kind of things for herself and not really caring about the well-being of everybody else around her. Snow is the opposite.
Snow's the exact opposite almost.
Snow wants to be a hero and fancies himself a hero.
Not always very good at it, but
Well, he gets better at it, and sometimes he is. He's got the best intentions, and
yeah, he really does have a heart of gold, but
Yeah. But he
doesn't always get
he
it right.
falls short. But he falls short in a way that's very human, and he's grown to be one of my favorite characters in this game
I will
too.
say
Again,
that when I first met him, I could not stand him. He was, I thought he was arrogant, full of himself. I couldn't stand him. you know, I played this game all the way through once and about to
Yeah.
the way through a second time, and now he's really grown on me.
He is a bit arrogant. He is a bit full of himself, but he means well. And
He
like
does grow a lot.
like all the characters, he's still in his own way not a traditional hero because he doesn't always succeed in being a hero. And
As we're about to find out.
yeah. Spoilers. Okay, so now we have a lot more in the Datalog. So, another rebellion. The peaceful citizens of Cocoon live in constant fear of the invasions of the forces of Pulse, the world below, and supposed home of terrors unknown.
Or even a single Pulsian agent to be discovered on Cocoon, panic and civil unrest would be sure to follow, threatening the very fabric of society. To prevent such a calamity, and boy, Final Fantasy sure does love the word calamity. The Sanctum, Cocoon's governing body, initiates the Purge, a government initiative officially entailing the deportation of all those who may have come into contact with corrupting Pulsian influences.
However, the Sanctum army is now brutally slaughtering the civilians they were supposed to be deporting. Realizing that the Purge is nothing more than a massacre in disguise, Snow leads the young freedom fighters of Nora in an effort to protect the Purge deportees from Sanctum soldiers.
And Nora,
We'll
obviously
we'll
that's
find
an
out.
acronym, but this game really does kind of love its... They're not exactly puns because they're used in a very melodramatic way, but...
Yeah. Okay. So now, like I said, there's so much backstory here that it just dumps on you without explaining very much of. So I'm going to introduce some of it. Pulse. Resting in Cocoon's shadow, the sprawling and enigmatic lower world of Pulse is home to a multitude of terrors. The land is commonly believed to be inhospitable to human life, and a strict ban on outer world and interworld travel forbids citizens of Cocoon from venturing there to challenge this hypothesis. Not even members of Sanctum's upper echelon can claim to have seen this surface with their own eyes. Notice a lot of contradiction here with the idea of deportation in the Purge. But the attempted invasion by world's savage armies several centuries ago is well documented. Widespread fear of a repeated assault persists among the populace even today, with colloquial references often likening the world to a manner of living hell. So that's all we have for now. It still doesn't seem to have anything about fal'Cie and l'Cie, which are two majorly important words that it does not explain to you for a long time. The Sanctum, Cocoon central government. The Sanctum holds supreme executive, legislative, and judicial power. In other words, power, period. This guy has a very girly wedding veil.
This guy,
Sorry, that's not...
kind of looks like the Pope. You know, apologies if anyone is Catholic, but this guy is not a good Pope.
Yeah, he's a bad Pope. Yeah, no offense to any religious organizations he might resemble or whatever. We're not like trying to talk about anybody's religion or anything. It's just this guy has a very religious
air about him
and is, well, he's a jerk.
Yeah, to put it mildly.
But he's important later, so let's not talk about him too much because we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Despite the fact that Cocoon was built by the fal'Cie and not by humans, and again, they don't talk about what the fal'Cie are yet, but fal'Cie opt to participate only superficially in governmental affairs, leaving Cocoon's administration entirely at the discretion of the human sanctum and its primarch, Galen Daisley. This guy.
Yeah, so he becomes important later.
The Purge. To the millions who call Cocoon home, the lower world of Pulse represents a constant source of fear. Suspected association with Pulse means stigmatization as an enemy of the state and all mankind, even for born and raised citizens of Cocoon.
The recent discovery of a fal'Cie from Pulse near the city of Bodum caused widespread civil unrest. Now, Bodum is the place that both Lightning and Snow are from. So, again, this is all the Purge going down. All these people that Snow is trying to protect, a lot of them are people he grew up with.
So, you know, friends, neighbors.
And that's why they all trust in him so blindly, because this thing with Nora and this little rebellion of his has started before the Purge in a small way. Not to the degree that it is now. So that's also kind of where he's gotten his hero complex from. After placing the city's entire population in quarantine due to the possibility of contamination, the Sanctum then announced its intent to forcibly relocate the affected Pulse an emergency measure dubbed by authorities as the Purge. Now, what they mean by contamination, what this game also has not explained, is that these entities I told you that control everything, the Foul Sea, they have this ability to mark humans as their magical servants. These humans don't lose free will. While I don't think the people there know what happens exactly to l'Cie, but they're called l'Cie, and they bear a focus that's given to them by their Foul Sea, and they have to complete it, or else they turn into a monster.
Again, kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but
We are getting ahead of ourselves, but all of this fear is related to that, and it's not explained. That these people, because of that threat of being turned into a monster, will do anything to complete their focus, and so anyone associated with Pulse, they're afraid of becoming l'Cie themselves and being stuck in that situation, or becoming the victim of a l'Cie, because they think that even by being near a l'Cie, they will become marked by the Foul Sea and become a servant as well. So that's what they're so afraid of. So that's what they mean by contamination. And Nora, the paramilitary organization known as Nora, is a group composed of like-minded youths assembled by Snow and self-funded by the operation of a seaside cafe in Bodom. Functions as a neighborhood watch of sorts. Nora members patrol the vicinity of Bodom for trouble. Most often, trouble consists of encroachment by dangerous forms of wildlife. Nora had never openly acted out against the Sanctum prior to the Purge, and because of this, the military had been content to turn a blind eye to the group's activities. And finally, Cocoon. From her lofty seat, the world of Cocoon has long enjoyed tranquility. The interior of her spherical shell supports several sprawling cities and a population numbering in the tens of millions. Although a variety of dangerous beasts prowl the wilds, so again, there are wildlands in Cocoon, apparently. Advanced technology and the protection of the world's Foul Sea keepers ensure the residents a peaceful and prosperous existence. Travel to the lower world of Pulse is forbidden, but given their deep-seated cultural fears of the place, Cocoon citizens would not even think to venture beyond the paradise they know.
a relic of days before the Roar of Transgression, and again, they haven't talked about that yet either, but they will. The Hanging Edge is located near Cocoon's outer rim. The area was once a thriving urban center, but residents were forced to abandon the location when an attack by Pulsian forces cracked Cocoon's shell during the conflict several centuries past. It was designated a restricted zone, and with civilian access prohibited, soon became nothing more than a name on local maps.
So like I said, all the lights are on, but no one's home. This is actually a pretty empty area. There's just the civilians who were put into the Purge who are fighting for their lives here, and the military trying to stop them. That's it. And finally, the 13 days. Of course, there has to be 13 days, because this is the game where they decided that everything has to be the number of the game. So, this is all about that again, the Purge. The Foul Sea of Pulse origin was discovered within a vestige on the outskirts of Bodom 2 days previously.
What a vestige is.
Yeah, what a vestige, or what a Foul Sea is, that we've had to explain. Having apparently spent centuries in hibernations, with humans none the wiser to its presence, the Sanctum deemed the potential contamination by Pulse magic a risk too great to overlook, and immediately enacted legislation permitting the Purge, an involuntary removal of the Foul Sea and the entire population of Bodom from Cocoon. Deportees were told only that they would be transported to Pulse. Okay, back to Snow. Let's go punch some soldiers.